Hello, I'm going to show you how easy it is to use advanced ETL processor. This saves us so much time when creating a integration from to and from different data sources. So what I have here is a data source where I'm opening up a table, ODBC table through a pass-through query. I then tied that into another access table where I want to limit these records by division. So in this case, I have division O2 set up, and this is the number of days I want to allow into my record set. So I have it for this ETL. I want to allow uh, basically all the records. So for at the moment, I want to allow all of these records. So my destination, I want to work on two of them. One is in SQL, I have a copy of Sage's IM item customer history by period table. I also created my own table that I'm going to use as a lookup. I want just the fiscal year. This table, as you can see, has over 660,000 records. So I don't want to have to write a query to group it up by year against all those records because on the web where I want to use this at, I'm concerned that the performance won't be all that great. So by just having a table with just a few short records, the performance on the web should be really, really quick. So let's get started. I'm going to create a new, I have advanced ETL already open on the server. And then these are just folders, so you can call them whatever you want. And then I just been kind of grouping them how I want to do that. Um, so I'm going to create an ETL, and I'm just going to call it the name of this table. Oops, I didn't get the name that I wanted. Still not getting it. That's all right. It is IM underscore item customer history by period. Click OK. So we get a blank template. Now, what I'm going to do, first of all, is get rid of the validator because I'm not going to validate any records at this point. So let's start out with, we need to get our data source. Now, this particular access database is a ODBC, and I call it Microsoft Access Pass-Through. So then we come over here. You can disable bulk fetch, but I've been leaving it on. You get a list of your tables, and we want IM underscore customer by history by period. And typically you don't have to touch these. So click OK. And you can see the record set. And I actually grabbed the wrong record set. let's go back in. Instead of grabbing that table, if you recall, I wrote a query and that's what we wanted to use as our source. The query will keep the divisions down by O2 and limit the date range. So if you recall, we had the 999 in our uh, allowed table here, and sure enough, that's what it has. So then we need to select our destination. It is a Microsoft SQL table, and I only want to show connections for this project. Then you pick your table, and right now I want to do my lookup table. And if you recall, I had one record in there. I only want to add new records. I don't want to add all records, and since it's only fiscal year, there's really nothing to update. So now if we go over to the writer, we need to look at the design. Because we are doing an update or add new, the advanced ETL needs to check the database to see if a record exists. So we do need to turn on the update key. Now, I don't want to send 670,000 records there to the SQL table and have it run for every record just to get me 1 year. So what I want to do is a deduplicator. So what that's going to let me do is call it up, and based on the fiscal year, remove the duplicates. And then the last thing we need to do is do a transformation. And so you can see in the reader, these are the years I'm getting. So now we need to connect these two like we do with other packages. And the cool thing with this software, you can actually kind of preview what it's going to do. So we're going to pick up 214 and send it on through the transformation. 215, 2009. So click OK. So based on what it sampled of 100 records, it reduced my record count down to 7. So let's go ahead and run this. It's actually getting ready to open the table. So as you recall, there's our query name. So it said it found 660,000 records. So I got my object guy here in the way. We're going to close that. You can go into the execution log. You can see it created 10 records. Remember, we didn't tell this thing to update or change any records. So now back to our SQL. If we refresh, there are all of our records. So let's delete a couple at random. Let's go ahead and run it again. So you can see here we got our 11 records again, but we're only going to get 2 back to our database. So if we go back over to SQL, see we have 9 records. Let's hit refresh. As you can see here, we have our 11 again. So what I've done is change that field in Access. If you recall, I changed this to a 5. And we can see that there it is back to 5. So now if we run it, so you can see here my record count is going to drop to 1729. So it took less time. I only got 1 record because as of January 16th, last 5 days, it would still only be 2016, and there was nothing to update in our SQL table. So nothing changed there. And if we go to our SQL, we still do a refresh and see nothing has changed. Still have our 11 records. Okay. So now I want to go on because I want to go ahead and update and get new records to my items customer history by period. So I need another transformer and I need another writer. So connect those and we're going to connect these. Now I already have records in MySQL, so I'm not going to do an upload of all of those. So same thing, so we're going to just show the connections only for this project, Microsoft SQL. go to My Tables and scroll down a bit. And I want to keep identities, and I also want to keep the nulls. I don't think I have any, but that's okay. I also want to add new and update old records. This will be a bit slower in performance because Advanced ETL has to look at the SQL table, see if these records exist, and then decide um, if they do exist, go ahead and update them. If they don't exist, go ahead and add it as a new record. So, and then of course you got this warning here, please don't forget to select an update key, and we're going to do that. So you can see there's the primary key from the SQL table, which is correct. That does match the Sage's table. So now we need to map all the fields. When we did this one here, we only had one field to match up. It was just the fiscal year. This one has a couple of more fields. Now, if you notice, they didn't physically line up in order, and that's fine. We have this mapping tool. We can match by field name or field position, and we can tell it to ignore case, which in this case we can see this is all uppercase. This is more of a proper case, and that's okay. We're just going to ignore the case difference. We are also going to tell it to ignore the suffix and prefix that this table has. So then we click Map Now, and we can review or manually adjust any of these fields. And they look good. So then let's go ahead and save that. And this is correct. I don't have fields in SQL where these are belong. These were just for my calculations only to work the records down. Oop, I cancel. Oh yeah, I want to save the transformer. So now if we run it, so the readers found our 1729 again. Oops, got an error. So then we go into the execution log. I think it's actually still running even though the So the error was we're missing the mandatory ship to code. So we're gonna. This is kind of nice compared to SSIS. For right now, I'm just going to put a ship to code of. Let's see if that works. Try again. In SSIS, if you want to default a field, you have to write a formula and give it a default value. And that would involve an if statement check to see if the ship to code exists or or 1729 again. So it looks like it's working, but as you can see, it's taking much longer to process because now I'm uh, updating and adding new records out on the web. So this should run a lot faster if I make this 0 days, which is the current date. So think of it this way: January 16th minus January 16th is 0. So in my access table, I would make that a 0. Okay, so it's done. So let me get my so here it inserted 596 records and it updated 1103 records. Up here we didn't update any. So we could go back here to the